name is Roxanne Alviso, and I head up the Business Value Services Group with the specialization on HCM. I'm here to talk to you today about why our customers call to move to the cloud. Many might think that the reason they call us is strictly about technology, but little is it actually just about the technology. The truth is, our customers call us because they've set out a vision to which they want their customer to drive their strategy. Followed by this vision, they set forth initiatives that give them quantifiable benefits. In this particular example, one of the benefits is to save money by reducing manual work and reducing risk and lower the back office cost. They do want to scale the organization, automating transactions across the business, and then grow. Obviously, our companies want to grow their revenue. These initiatives are further propelled by business drivers. These drivers are what drive the quantifiable benefits for organizations who need to create a business case for change. In this instance, it's all around competition. They need to be able to shift their focus and be innovative as their competition is consistently driving them to be better. They have to have governance to really mitigate risk and keep them compliant across the organization. And then consumers. Their buyers, their customers, and even their employees are considered consumers in this instance, have a higher expectation for them to continuously innovate through emerging technologies. And then, yes, finally, but not least, technology. Technology is what propels the organizational structure for them to be able to drive vision. But many companies who struggle with technology is really having a hard time keeping up with the pace of change. The fact is, the rate of change is really happening within technology at a speed of light. And for customers who are on-prem solution, their IT staff is mainly focused on just keeping them compliant. And then whatever updates that they're able to put in, they put in. But they're not able to really focus on being innovative and propel their organization forward. So when companies reach out to us to move to the cloud, it really is about keeping up with the pace of change and being able to execute against their vision. However, they often have challenges in making those changes. Here's just a few challenges that we have and that we see on a regular basis. One, a disjointed employee experience. Remember, your employees are also your consumers. So if your employees are having a disjointed experience, most likely so are your customers. Dated point solutions. They really try. Organizations with on-prem solutions often go out and shop the market for other solutions to integrate and attach, which creates a loss of opportunity and efficiencies. So that poor investment also drives areas where they struggle to gather data. Often, we don't hear from customers that they don't have data. They have tons of data. It just becomes extremely cumbersome for them to utilize that data and make actionable decisions throughout their organization to drive back to that vision that they set forth. Within those challenges, that is where customers reach out to us to say, we no longer want to be on an on-prem solution. We want to move to the cloud. We want something complete and personal. We want one source of the truth. The fact is, the data being overwhelming slows them to make decisions and really drive better organizational strategy. With that, they also have to be adaptable. Remember, the pace of change of technology is usually increasing on a daily basis. They say that within every 30 seconds, millions of data is hitting the internet. And so the ability to be adaptable against that and agile as an HR department becomes increasingly frustrating. And then, yes, everybody wants to move to the cloud. We're on it on our phones, we're in it in our daily interactions. But the truth is it also drives a lower TCO, and that TCO does drive a higher amount of productivity throughout the organization. So in the group that I work with, one of the things we do is help organizations create a business case for change. No organization makes a change without creating some sort of a business case and understanding these three things. What's the business impact? What's the investment? And ultimately, what's the cost to our organization? Their goal is to drive efficiencies, be effective, mitigate risk, and again, grow revenue. We're all shareholders within our organization. And so where we invest is extremely important and understanding how long is it going to be to implement, to really get the return on investment, and understanding not only your existing costs today, but what will those future costs be. So as you think about this and you think about how does Oracle help, the team that I talked about that I manage, what we do is we come in and we understand the business. We really want to understand what are the areas of improvement that need to happen. How do they want to leverage the latest innovation to accelerate business change? And then processes. No change is strategic if you're not willing to evolve your processes moving forward and understand within your industry how are processes and best practices being utilized to drive revenue. How do you identify, measure, and track success? And then ultimately, where do your investments lie? And what's the greatest return that you're going to get from those investments? While we're talking about return, let's talk about some of the return that customers who have chosen to go to Oracle's Cloud HR have experienced. 79% have experienced an improvement in reporting productivity. 34% have had increased staff productivity, and 48% have decreased the maintenance and cost of those legacy systems. More importantly, it's about staying compliant and really driving governance that drives the strategy. And 70% of our customers have reduced their compliant costs by making the change to Oracle's Cloud HCM. Now, as you make this change, you'll also struggle with how do we make the change? This is why you might make the change. But up next, we'll be talking to Greg Zanowski around how to make the change to the cloud. Thank you for your time today, and I hope you have a great day.
Thanks, Roxanne. As mentioned, my name is Greg Zanowski. I lead our North American Applications Consulting, HCM consulting practice. And this segment, we're going to talk about how we actually help our clients move to the cloud. So as Roxanne had kind of set up the why, right, putting together a business case and the justification for why it makes sense for many of our clients to move to the cloud, I'm going to next talk about the how. And just to kind of break down the different areas we think about when we engage with our clients, there's many different areas. So the first one is strategy and vision, right? So it's really important to have a well-defined strategy and purpose for your organization. It may be an HR strategy, it may be a corporate vision. Many of those things coming together really need to help inform the how as we think about migrating and moving to the cloud. And that comes out in our deployment approach and the way we think about phasing the way to move to the cloud. Second, Roxanne also talked about the pace of change. And for us, when we think about the pace of change, that really culminates into establishing a cloud culture. And I'm going to spend a little bit of time today talking about the 7 different elements of a cloud culture that are really critical to not only getting you to the cloud, but actually sustaining that change in an ongoing manner. We also look at the business challenges and opportunities we talked about. And in cloud, it's all about understanding what you've done historically in your on-premise investment and environment. And how do you evolve from that state to the cloud? And we'll talk about some of the unique tools that Oracle provides through our Chemly analysis to help you really uncover what you have today to help prepare us for moving to the cloud. We also look at the business value and the ROI, and that really is culminated in terms of identifying what are the true costs for moving to the cloud. What are the resources you need? What's the time it takes? And this is an area that many times has many different misnomers and is misunderstood about how big and complex that is. So these are just some of the dimensions we'll go into a bit further to break down the how as it relates to moving to the cloud. But first, as I mentioned, the cloud culture is something that's really important for our clients with an on-premise history. And it's many times these projects, it's less about the technology. And frankly, as we look at our programs and projects, the technology is actually the easy part. What is really important is to establish a set of traits that we can help our customers instill during the project, get a chance to actually practice these traits to help them for the long term. And the 7 here are as mentioned. One is acceleration. So this has to do with how do we help our clients make decisions at speed. right? It's really important to move at speed in the project, but those same skills are going to be important after a customer's live in the cloud as you're facing new upgrades every quarter, new changes in your business environment, and the ability to be able to evaluate something quickly, make a decision, and move on is going to be critical. We also look at transparency. So how does the business or HR work collaboratively with IT to evaluate throughout the project all of those different considerations and possibilities? We also think about versatility. So within an organization, what are the new roles that your team is going to have to play to support this project? Empowerment. How do we enable and empower the business to be more hands-on to maintain the application than they ever have been before? We also think about innovation. Again, looking at different opportunities to innovate, try new things, evaluate, and help determine how to best support your business requirements. Simplicity. This is probably the most important thing in terms of moving to the cloud. It's all about how to challenge your organization and new ways of thinking and seeking, why not? Why won't this work for you? Taking best practices from Oracle to help drive simplicity, not only to establish the solution initially, but to help to sustain it and maintain it as easily as possible long term. And then overall, lastly, collaboration. So these cultural elements and traits are really important as part of a project. We have some great tools and surveys that we can use with our clients to help you establish a baseline of where you are today against these traits and use that and measure that through the course of a project. But ultimately, these are the traits that we found through the hundreds of implementations that we've done that are really important to take your organization forward. Next, I'm going to talk a little bit about the different ways we can help our customers evaluate your on-premise environment through the tools, as I mentioned, called our Chemly analysis. And these are really powerful tools that can plug in directly to your environment and help read and understand what has been done to that environment. And many times we find it with our customers that the initial implementation or setup may have been done 10, 20, or even longer years ago. And so having this insight and ability to kind of peel back the covers and understand what is there, have a discussion about why those things were done to it, really provides a great platform for us to talk about the possibilities in the cloud. We can also help our customers benchmark their environment against other customers by industry, by size and scope, and by solution set. And again, this helps provide a really good, insightful way to understand what was done so we can drive conversations about what do you need going forward. And when we do that, we evaluate what's available in the standard cloud product. We understand, is there a possibility of a business process change to simplify, again, one of our cloud traits? Or is there something really unique in your business that was done and needs to continue to be done to support your unique business environment? And where possible, we can also extend the application through our PaaS platform. But the Chemly analysis and tool set is a really unique way to understand what you've done to your current environment to broker those conversations. Next, as we get into these projects with our clients, the topic of transformation comes up. And we believe that every migration to the cloud from on-premise is a transformation in itself. It's a drastically new way of thinking and operating within your environment. But to break that down further, we really think it's important for our clients to have a good aligned understanding of what type of project are they looking for. On the left-hand side, some customers are looking purely for a shift in technology, kind of a lift and shift from on-premise to cloud, maybe due to an expiring or unsupported version or other factors driving that. On the other end of the spectrum, we see clients that are looking for a capital T transformation. And that includes a lot of different things. That requires a really robust business strategy, like Roxanne talked about. It may include wanting to do more from an end-to-end business process design. So what else happens outside of the cloud application? It could include things like policy and procedures. It could be other initiatives going on, not only within HR, but across the company. So, being really well in tune with what type of project is this going to be is important to ground into yourself and articulate the needs that you have as a program so that you can talk to Oracle and your partners about the support that you need to get through the different type of project. But again, transformation is a term that's frequently used, but it's important to pair that back into what's really important for you so you can devise what needs to go into your program to make it successful and hit your requirements. One of the ways that we've been very effective in helping our clients prepare for moving to the cloud is through what we call a phase zero engagement. And so taking the input from a business case into this process, we can help really detail out that roadmap, right? So if you think about a business case may suggest, hey, I need to get to the cloud over the next 18 months, right? And if I do that, there's certain benefits to realize. Well, we can break that down into much more granular view of the roadmap to kind of figure out what happens in those 18 months. Is it going live in a big bang with all the cloud capabilities at once? Is it sequencing and phasing those over time based on business priorities or business cycles? Or are there other HR calendar events and activities that are going on that you've got to serve first? So in a phase zero, from an implementation perspective, we can take the macro view of the business case and drive that into a much more granular roadmap that will help kind of drive the sequence and other activities. We can also look at functional and technical scope. So having a firm handle on those things will help us really fine tune the exact time required to deploy those solutions. We can also look at things like your overall enterprise architecture. We can look at data and integration. And for many of our clients on premise who've had those solutions for many years, this can be an area of complexity. And through this process, we can help break down what are the true data elements that you need to bring over? How can you archive data? How can you simplify the many, many integrations you may have built over time into a simpler environment that will be easier and lower cost to maintain? Once we get our arms around those four elements, roadmap, scope, architecture, and data and integration, we then have a firm handle on the scope of the project and can also help advise our clients on things around change management. What type of support do you need there? What is the plan? What things have you learned from other similar projects that you can apply to this project? What type of training do you need for your system administrators, your business users, or your end users? And we can also, most importantly, help our clients figure out what are the resources you need to support this project in both internally and from the outside. And then lastly, as it relates to resources, also thinking about not only the project resources you need during implementation or migration, but how do you set up a resource model that you can have the key resources in place that will sustain and continue to operate after you hit your milestone. And then lastly, we spend a lot of time thinking about governance for the program, but also more importantly, the operational governance model you need to sustain the change with the 7 cloud traits we had talked about earlier, right? Because there's going to be quarterly releases, new opportunities for innovation, changing business requirements, and a good governance model is going to be essential to maintaining your investment. Let's look at an example we did recently with a large retail grocer who was on premise with our solutions for over 20 years. They came to us initially with an immediate need for a new recruiting solution. They also had a new CHRO coming in board, trying to get his arms around the organization, the systems in place, why things were done, and an IT organization that had shared a 5-year roadmap for moving to the cloud. And the CHRO said, you know what, I'd really like a kind of a second opinion to really validate the plan that we have for moving to the cloud over time and share our insights and experience and recommendations from that. And we engaged in a few days of on-site workshops with key stakeholders from HR and IT, as well as from the regions. And through that process, we uncovered a number of things. We did a Chemly analysis in the environment and actually found that this customer was one of the most heavily customized retail customers globally. And so while things were working, we did uncover a lot of pain points in terms of processing time, a lot of manual labor that was required to sustain and maintain the solution and support it ongoing. And the time to value for the 5-year roadmap was really not meeting their needs. And we were able to cut that roadmap down to 2 years to achieve the needs that they had and help them address not only recruiting, but also a full core HR system that would be essential for the platform overall within HR. And also with this customer, they had just kicked off a cloud ERP project, which also had dependencies and opportunities to connect with a new HR data model at the same time. So it's an example of the ways that we as Oracle Consulting can help our clients evaluate the many options you have, get really precise on the reality of what it takes for one of these projects in terms of resources, costs, and timeline, and put a plan that's tailored and personalized to your unique business objectives and your business case that Roxanne talked about. Additionally, one of the ways that Oracle has invested over the last few years to help the migration process be that much easier is through what we call our SOAR tools. And we've developed these tools in a systematic way over the last few years as a way to reduce the complexity, the risk, the timeline, and the cost by as much as 30% or more for our clients in what we see as really a very prescriptive and well thought out approach. As part of our SOAR process, we provide expert services who know your current on-premise environment and a set of tools that actually migrates and maps your data over much more efficiently. And as you can see in the lower left-hand side, we've developed packages or what we call flight plans that help our customers move the like-for-like capabilities into the cloud. If you'd like to learn more about SOAR, please contact Oracle Consulting for more information. And then lastly, as it relates to our SOAR roadmap, we continue to make investments to help our customers realize the benefits of moving to the cloud much more efficiently. And at this point, we've really built out flight plans and services and tools for almost every environment that you may have. So it's a great opportunity and way to reduce that cost of the migration and start realizing the benefits of moving to the cloud.